चिन्मयं जीवनं यस्य मरणं यस्य चेतना ज्ञानदानं धृतिर्यस्य तस्य पादौ भजाम्यहम् समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् अथ तृतीयमुण्डके प्रथमः खण्डः द्वौ सुपर्णासयुजा सखाया समानं वृक्षं परिषस्वजाते तयोरन्यः पिप्पलं स्वाद्वत्ति अनश्नन्नन्यो अभिचाकशीति समाने वृक्षे पुरुषो निमग्नः अनीशया शोचति मुह्यमानः जुष्टं यदा पश्यत्यन्यमीशम् अस्य महिमानमिति भीतशोकः यदा पश्यते रुक्मवर्णं कर्तारमेशं पुरुषं ब्रह्मयोनिं तदा विद्वान् पुण्यपापे विधूय निरञ्जनः परमं साम्यमुपैति प्राणो येष यः सर्वभूतैर्विभाति विजानन् विद्वान् भवते नातिवादी आत्मक्रीड आत्मरतिः क्रियावान् एष ब्रह्मविदां वरिष्ठः सत्येन लभ्यस्तपसा येष आत्मा सम्यक् ज्ञानेन ब्रह्मचर्येण नित्यम् अन्तःशरीरे ज्योतिर्मयो हि शुभ्रः यं पश्यन्ति यतयः क्षीणदोषाः सत्यमेव जयते नानृतम् सत्येन पन्था विततो देवयानः येनाक्रमन्त्रिषयो व्याप्तकामाः यत्र तत्सत्यस्य परमं निदानं बृहच्च तद्दिव्यमचिन्त्यरूपं सूक्ष्माच्च तत्सूक्ष्मतरं विभाति दूरात् सुदूरे तदिहान्तिके च पश्यत्स्विहैव निहतं गुहायां न चक्षुषा गृह्यते नापि वाचा नान्यैर्देवैस्तपसा कर्मणा वा ज्ञानप्रसादेन विशुद्धसत्त्वः ततस्तु तं पश्यते निष्कलं ध्यायमानः ततस्तु तं पश्यते निष्कलं ध्यायमानः Hari Om friends, welcome to you all to this satsanga where we are discussing the 8th mantra in the first section of chapter 3. We have covered first 4 paras and in the 4th para we have seen the place of the science of religion in human life, and in that we have seen that there are 2 essential limbs to that religion, science of religion. One of the limbs is philosophical and the other limb is of a ritualistic type. So whatever are the ideas that are uh, summed up in the philosophical portion, how they can be lived in our life through a proper discipline, starting from rituals onwards, then coming to upasana, and finally to the knowledge. We have seen this in the fourth paragraph. The last statement that we have taken up was, only when the mind and intellect are thus tuned up can the individual successfully live in the world of meditation and maintain his equilibrium in that world. But to believe that these are end in themselves is a tragic mistake, and the scriptures is lovingly indicating to us the fallacy of such a belief. So this is a special comment on the two words tapasa karmana va na griyate. The Swamiji has clearly divided into three aspects. This self cannot be described. If you see the translation, this self cannot be described. It is not revealed. And finally, one realizes him. So the self cannot be described by the sense organs, as it cannot be the object of their perception. Then it cannot be revealed just because you have performed the karmas and you have performed the tapas. So that is not enough. So it is not revealed by that. So when one is able to realize that self within himself is defined in the last two lines. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha nishkalam dhyayamanaha tam pashyate. So this is actually it is to be pinned down to this statement that the self is not perceptible to the sense organs, nor can it be revealed by karma, the rituals, or by austerities, tapas. Up to this, we have covered the four paragraphs. So lastly, the statement says that just because you have gone through the rituals and penance, it is not enough. By that, you will be able to tune up. But finally, that is not enough. So that was the concluding statements of the fourth para, which I read just now. Were saying, but to believe, the first thing is that they are useful. It is not that when you say it cannot be, the self cannot be revealed by tapas or by karma. It is not that it is rejected. It has some usefulness in our sadhana. And what is that usefulness? That usefulness is that when one has practiced for a sufficiently long worship, etc., and has undergone a certain amount of intelligent tapasya, one becomes tranquil in his inner life and gains a certain amount of single pointedness of application with intellect. So these are the two main advantages by going through karma yoga or rituals in the Vedas, Vedic rituals, yajnas, etc. And by performing tapas, one can become tranquil in his inner life. This is the first aspect. Now the word tranquil, we have to take it in a good sense. Swamiji offers three graded worlds, whereby first the inner equipment becomes calm. This is the first word. When the mind and intellect refuse to think on the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, which are external, then it becomes calm. This is the first thing. When such a calm mind is engaged in contemplation upon the nature of the self, then it becomes serene. This is the word he has used. Serene. And lastly, when such a serene mind is engaged in the deeper contemplation, it leads to the very self who is tranquil. The word tranquil is used here directly, but we have to understand one becomes tranquil in his inner life and gains a certain amount of single pointedness. So the tranquil here, though used just to pacify the mind, we have seen elsewhere in his literature that is a set of words. In unfoldment, he has used these three words. The first word is calm, the second word is serene, and the third word is tranquil. So tranquil is the state of mind which is stilled, and the serene is a sattvic state of mind where the mind by nature is silent, peaceful. And the earlier word calm, mind becomes calm moment it withdraws its attention and interest from the world outside. We have used a similar set of three words, if you remember. The first word, when the mind withdraws from the outer world, it becomes quiet. So the quiet mind, and here it is used as calm mind. So calm and quiet, we are using these two words together also. There, what is said calm there, here we are saying it as quiet. Then the quiet mind is engaged in the contemplation upon the nature of the self. Then that mind becomes peaceful. For the simple reason that mind tends to resemble and become whatever is its point of contemplation. So when mind is contemplating upon the nature of the self is silence. Contemplating upon the silence, mind naturally becomes peaceful. This is the second level. And finally, it finds mind itself disappears to become the silence that is the self. So this kind of three-level progressive status of the mind we have to appreciate. We have used these three words, two sets of three words. The first set is the calm mind, serene mind, and tranquil mind, graded manner. Finally, when mind becomes tranquil, it becomes stilled. The other set we have used is quiet mind, peaceful mind, and the mind that has merged in the silence of the self. So these are the levels of mind. Gradually we have to ascend. So the first and foremost thing is that mind has to become quiet or calm. And this is attained with the help of the sadhana that is suggested here by action and tapasya. The action, we can take it as karma yoga, which purifies the inner defects of the mind like likes and dislikes, etc. and makes the mind free from these two influences. And to that extent, the mind becomes free from agitations and excitement. So likewise, the Karma Yoga makes the mind pure in the sense of likes and dislikes. And later on by Tapasarya, it makes the mind concentrated and single pointed. So these are the gains. But if somebody says that this is the end in itself, then he is sadly mistaken. These are only the auxiliary aids for the main sadhana. And so therefore here the last statement made would be in this sense, in the fourth paragraph is here that, but to believe that these are an end in themselves is a tragic mistake, and the scripture is lovingly indicate to us the fallacy of such a belief. So scriptures are lovingly indicating to us, in a sense, that here it is said, na tapasa karmana va. These are the two words used. So, ayam atma na chakshusha griyate, na vacha griyate, na anyaihi devaihi griyate, na tapasa griyate, na karmana griyate. So last two words, tapasa and karmana. Earlier it was only said that it cannot be perceived or described by the five sense organs of perception. But the fourth paragraph takes care of the other two words, tapasa and karmana. So these are also useful. This is a useful preliminary sadhana which makes our mind calm and quiet, peaceful and serene with this sadhana, and then thereby it becomes useful for the deeper contemplation. So it becomes an auxiliary aid in the set of sadhanas. But this is not the final. So the final sadhana remains, and that is indicated in the last two lines, for which the commentary begins from the fifth paragraph. So we are going through the fifth paragraph. Now the two lines are Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha tatashrutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha. Now who sees kaha pashyate, kam pashyate, atmanam pashyate, but who can see that? Seeing is realizing. Dhyayamanaha is the first word. Dhyayamanaha is the most important word. In meditation, he realizes. So now Swamiji here comments on the word Dhyayamanaha and gives us comments on meditation. The one who in his meditation the self is revealed to him or it is realized by him. So this meditation is the technique by which this becomes possible. Now about meditation, we have to see in the fifth paragraph. So now we'll see the fifth paragraph. Meditation is the means. Realization of the self is the goal. And between meditation and the self-realization, there is no relationship as cause and effect. Meditation only removes the veil over the self, and the self is realized by itself in its own light. The cloud rolls away with the breeze, and the sun shines from behind it of its own accord, in its own light. Meditation is as much responsible for self-realization as the breeze is responsible for creating the sun. Meditation ends avidya. Vidya is our real nature. So see, what is the main job of meditation? It's clearly spelled out here. We are meditating on the nature of the self in order to end the idea, a false idea that I am PFTI, I am perceiver, feeler, thinker I am egoistic I am individual, I am a man, I am a person. All these ideas, to decondition them from our mind so that we can drop those ideas about ourselves, the meditation is planned. So meditation will counteract on all these false ideas about ourselves by uh, by meditating upon the nature of the self. So the nature of the self will continuously be acting upon the misunderstanding about ourselves. And in the bargain, all the misunderstanding when cleared, then the self will shine on its own accord. It is not that the meditation will make it shine. So here the place of meditation and the actual function of meditation is made very clear. Meditation is a relentless assault on all our defects and negativities about ourselves. Meditation is not creating anything positive. So what is negative in us is counteracted by the positive thought about the self, and together they, in their conflict, the all negative thoughts will be destroyed. So this idea is given in Atma Bodh also. As such, the water is impure. When we bring it from the village well, local for collection of water, we collect the water. The water collected in the bucket is not very pure. So we have to take care that make it pure and then use it for our cooking purpose, etc., drinking and all. So the village method is, there is a seeds of nirmali. It's a plant whose seeds are spread on the top of the water of the nirmali, and these seeds together, when we are spreading it on the surface of the water in the bucket, these seeds together form a thick film, and this film by its own weight goes down.
2 मिनिटं.
So here the process of purification, a simple process of purification the villagers adopt is this: spread the seeds of nirmali, and the seeds themselves will form a layer. The layer will go down from top surface, carrying along with it all the impurities contained in the water, and they will all go to the bottom of the bucket, and the remaining water is used as pure water. So here the job of the nirmali seeds is compared here with the job of meditation. The meditation will take all the wrong concepts about ourselves. We have taken ourselves from body. From this onwards, I am the body, I am the sense organs, I am the mind, I am the pranas. When I say I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am pranas. Then I am the mind, I am the intellect. All these are misconceptions about ourselves. And all these have to be counteracted by the relevant portions in meditation, which will tell me about the nature of my true self. So this kind of meditation, what it does in effect is it only destroys or negate all the negativities about ourselves. And along with that, the idea of meditation of the nature of the self also will go along with the misconceptions about ourselves. So together, when both of them go away, as the seeds as well as the impurities, both of them go to the bottom of the bucket, leaving the water as pure. Similarly, both the misconception about ourselves and the nature of the self that we have meditated upon, both of them will go away, leaving us in our essential purity, the self. The self is ever pure, but the negativities have veiled our true nature. So these veilings, these coverings on our real self are to be removed, and these are removed by meditation. So this para clearly tells us that meditation is the means, realization of the self is the goal, but there is no relationship like cause and effect. I take up meditation and I realize the self. That is not a relationship. I take up meditation and I destroy all the negative ideas about myself, all misconceptions about myself. When this effort, this process of destroying the wrong ideas by the right one, when these take place, both of them will go away. Not that the meditation will cause the realization of the self. Meditation will destroy all the negativities in us about ourselves. And when both of them, when I am free from both the right and the wrong ideas about myself, when both are gone, then what remains is revealed to me, and that is the self. Now, this is the idea made clear. Therefore, it is said here that meditation, the more important statement in the fifth para, first important statement is meditation only removes the veil over the self, and the self is realized by itself in its own light. Now, to see the sun, we don't require any other light. Sun is self-effulgent, self-luminous, and therefore it doesn't require any another light to see the sun. So the sun will be seen by its own light. Only what we need to do is, in case there are clouds covering the sun, we will not be able to see the sun. And the removal of the cloud is done by the breeze or the wind. When the wind will take the clouds away, the sun, which was already there with all its effulgence, will shine forth. But this shining forth is not caused by the wind. Wind has only removed the veiling. The clouds were veiling the sun, and these veilings were removed by the wind. Similarly, at present, my own self is veiled by a lot of negative and incorrect ideas about myself. And these ideas become the obstacles or obstruction in realizing the self. To remove all these false ideas about myself, a meditation is undertaken. So meditation, like wind, only will remove the obstacles of all misconceptions about myself. And when this is done, the self will shine on its own accord. We don't need any other light, nor meditation is going to be responsible for that. So Swamiji had said, like a joke it is said, so here it is said, the statement is, the cloud rolls away with the breeze and the sun shines from behind it of its own accord, in its own light. Now, meditation is as much responsible for self-realization as the breeze is responsible for creating the sun. The breeze does not create the sun. Breeze only removes the clouds clouds were veiling the sun. Breeze only removes the clouds. Megha payem shuman iva. In Atma Bodh, here it is very well said that when the clouds move away by the wind, then the sun shines on its own. Megha apaye anshuman iva. Anshuman is the sun. So the sun will shine forth on its own accord with its own light or effulgence. Moment the veilings of the clouds are removed, they are incidentally removed by the wind. And here, similarly, the meditation will remove all the misunderstanding that we are carrying about ourselves. I am so and so, I am this and I am that. I am is the really the truth or reality. But when we add to that I am as this and that, then we go away from the I amness. I am, we have to reach finally. And this I am sense will be dropped later, but to reach I am is the immediate goal for the seeker. At this moment, he has considered himself as I am the body, I am the sense organs. When I say I am the listener, I am the speaker, all these are basically with reference to the sense organs. Now, I am the prana. When you say I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am identifying with prana force, whose function is hunger and thirst. Now then I go to the mind and I say I am sorrowful, I am happy. So these are all mistakes of identification with something other than the self, that is called as not self, anatma. My identification with not self has made me go away from myself. Meditation will clear all this misunderstanding, and along with that misunderstanding, in the meditation itself will also go, and it will leave behind the self, which is self-effulgent, resplendent, and it will shine forth on its own accord. So this idea is clearly mentioned in the 5th paragraph. And meditation, in the end, the second important statement, the first important statement we have seen in 5th paragraph is meditation only removes the veil over the self, and the self is realized by itself in its own light. This is the first important statement. The second important statement is last statement. Meditation ends avidya. Vidya is our real nature. So at this moment, the vidya is not available for our recognition because it is covered by avidya. Ajnanena vritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Gita says that this ignorance is veiling the knowledge, and thereby the jivas, the individuals, are deluded. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. So this idea is here very well said. So meditation ends only avidya. So avidya can be ended by its opposite, that is vidya, and this is the nature of the self that we are contemplating upon. So that gives us the idea about the place of meditation in our spiritual sadhana. Now we proceed to so for this idea that the clouds move away with the help of wind and the sun shines on its own accord is from the Atma Bodha. We have got at least 2-3 places where the same example is used with a different reference to the context. So the one here we know is the fourth one, Atma Bodha, the fourth stanza says that Parichinna iva jnanat tannashe sati kevalaha svayam prakashate vyatma megha payem shumaniva. Megha payem shumaniva. When the clouds are away, then the Anshuman, the sun, shines on its own accord. This example is used in Atma Bodh. And another one is the verse number 43 in Atma Bodh, when it is said, Aruneneva bodhena purvam santamase rute tata avirbhavedatma swayameva anshumaniva swayameva anshumaniva. As the sun rises on its own accord, but before he rises the sun, the dawn has looted the darkness of the night. It doesn't wait for the sun to rise. The early dawn has already looted the darkness of the night. That is mentioned here. Aruna is the charioteer of the sun, and when he is seen, it is called dawn. And this dawn has already looted away the darkness of the night. Aruneneva bodhena purvam santamase rute. Tamas, the darkness is already destroyed by the dawn. When that darkness is destroyed, then shall rise the sun. Tata avirbhavedatma mega payem shumaniva. So Vidya and Avidya, this is first. The first clash would be the Vidya will destroy Avidya, is the first level. So that's how the ignorance will be destroyed by knowledge. This is called the dawn. In the dawn, we get a clear understanding, intellectual understanding without any doubts or perversion. We get a clear understanding about our true nature. This is intellectual understanding, and this is called the dawn. This understanding will clear the darkness of ignorance about the self. Now, when this is done, then in time, the sun will rise. Tata avirbhavedatma. Then the self will appear. It will reveal to us on its own accord. So the sunrise is the second phase. First is the dawn. And the dawn has already looted the dark, the night. When this has happened, then only the sun will rise. Similarly, first we have to destroy the avidya with the help of vidya. This is the first phase. When this is clear, when we have a clear-cut understanding about our true nature, free from doubts and despair, then it is the dawn in our inner world. It is a clear. There is a daylight. We can say there is a dawn, there is a light. And when the sun rises, then as the English phrase says, it would be as clear as daylight. The light of the dawn is not that bright, but it has served the purpose of clearing the darkness. When darkness is cleared, then the sun will rise. And when sun rises, it will be as clear as daylight. So this idea, we have to keep it in mind. So last important statement we saw was the meditation and avidya. Vidya is our real nature. The knowledge is our real nature as a jiva. And when jiva becomes thus knowledgeable by destroying the ignorance, then the self, jiva is actually the self, atma. But jiva will realize his selfhood only when it has cleared all the misconceptions about itself. The jiva at present, under the spell of ignorance, has misconceived about himself so many various negative ideas. We do not represent the self. Therefore, this vidya, which is obtained through meditation, will counteract on the ignorance about our own true nature. When this is done, in our inner equipment, there is a dawn. And then later on, in due time, ere long, so it means there is no much time. After the dawn, the sun has to rise. So this will happen. But before it happens, we have to see that all the ignorance and the misconceptions about ourselves caused by ignorance, self-ignorance, must be cleared by meditation. So this is the place of meditation in spiritual sadhana. We must be very clear about it. It is not that we meditate and we realize the self. There is no such relationship between the like a cause and effect. Meditation is the cause, self-realization is the effect. There is no such relationship because the self is self-evident. It does not require anybody else to prove its existence, nor it requires any instrument with which the seeker can see the self. It is self-evident to the seeker who has destroyed all the misconceptions and ignorance about himself. This is the main place of meditation in our spirituality. Now we go to the 6th paragraph, and the 6th paragraph onwards to all those next 4 paragraphs are very, very important because they are concerned with the last 2 lines of the mantra. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattva tatashrutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha. Now here a little of introduction. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattva. If you read these words, 2 words, those who are acquainted will remember the Tapovana Shatakam. This Tapovan Shatakam, the last one, is a culmination of self-realization. The last verse of Tapovan Shatakam has engaged used the same word, Jnana Prakashena Vishuddha Sattvo Yam Pashyatis. So this is exactly the pickup from this Upanishad, Mundakopanishad. Likewise, it is a great help for the spiritual seeker following the instructions of our Gurudev. This Tapovan Shatkam is composed by a very close associate of Swami Tapovan Maharaj. He was also a sannyasi. He has an opportunity to serve Swami Tapovanji, who is the teacher of Swami Chinmayananda. And he has composed the Tapovana Shatkam. And the beauty of this Tapovana Shatkam is, it is the essence of all the Upanishads. So, that Swamiji, who has composed this Tapovana Shatkam, he has selected the important statements from different Upanishads and strung them together to form Tapovana Shatakam. So here Swami Tapovan Maharaj stands for Brahman. This is the first important thing. This Tapovan Maharaj stands for Brahman, and our Gurudev stands for infinite pure knowledge. Now these 2 levels are our great fortune, that these 2 levels are sufficient for us. We don't need anything else. The Tapovan Shatkam will give the essence of Vedanta or Upanishads and describe what Brahman is. And that Brahman is here seen in the form of Swami Tapovan Maharaj. So this is first thing. Therefore, this description should always be in view. So Tapovan Shatkam should be kept in view to know our real nature as Brahman. Jivo Brahmaiva is this Siddhanta in Vedanta. Therefore, to realize this, the Tapovan Shatkam is enough. Now here the last one, Tejo Mayam Divyamameva Shaktim Sanatanam Shantamanamayamcha. This words, last word, tells us about the realization, when the self-realization will take place. So it is incidentally, I just wanted to draw your attention that the last and the sixth verse of the Upanishad is the culmination of human evolution by self-realization. That is the culmination of human evolution. That person, human being, realizes his true nature as Brahman, the ultimate truth, the truth which is one without a second, and his nature as infinite knowledge. So with this background, now we are going to the sixth paragraph. I'll read out. Hence it is that the Shruti says, when the understanding becomes calm and refined, then while engaging himself in the great vocation of man, namely meditation, the individual realizes the Supreme Self within himself. The purity of the mind is the most important factor for this great achievement, and hence the emphasis on Vishuddha Sattva. During the endless pilgrimage of each individual, during his travel through the womb of time-space causality, confusion in the lower equipments such as inert stones, living vegetables, knowing animals, and thinking man, he, the seeker, has gained in his inner composition thick layers of animalism and instinct. To rub them off and to purify the antakarana is the process of spiritualism. Now here the spiritualism is another name given for meditation. Spiritualism. This is the process of meditation. Instead, Swamiji doesn't use the word repeatedly, the same word to make it mechanical. He always gives the equivalent, another term for a change, and we can also have the significance of that. The spiritual sadhana is essentially the sadhana of meditation. To indicate this, Swamiji has used the word, the process of spiritualism. It is only ism, it is not the spirit. Spiritualism, in a sense, the meditation will help remove all the obstacles due to avidya and the consequent misapprehension. So this is, when you say I'm doing sadhana, actually it implies that we are meditating. All other things, for example, shravanam, the listening, and mananam, the reflection upon what we have listened, they cannot be called as spiritual sadhana by themselves, because these two levels have to be achieved by student of any subject, not necessarily the spirituality. If you want to study any faculty, any subject, then you need to read and listen and finally reflect on that to make that information read and listened as your own knowledge. Therefore, to gain the knowledge is not spirituality. Knowledge can be gained by shravanam plus mananam. But when this knowledge has to be percolated in our life, it must be fully saturated with our life, and we get the benefit of that. If that is the case, then meditation is the sadhana which will help us remove all that is obstructing our vision of our own self. And that meditation is, the term used here is the spiritualism. So when I say I am doing spiritual practice, it necessarily means or implies meditation. This is the first thing. Now, an earlier paragraph, and here also we have seen that the meditation only removes the negativities in us. about ourselves. What are those negativities and how we come to gather these negativities in ourselves? That is the concern of this paragraph. So it says that, now let us go through this paragraph for our reflection purpose. First thing is, in the first statement, in italics, it is said, when the understanding becomes calm and refined. First line of this paragraph, sixth paragraph. Hence it is that Shruti says, when the understanding becomes calm and refined. Understanding word is jnana. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha. Now this is, Swamiji has put in italics, while its English version, when the understanding becomes calm and refined. Refined is the term used for vishuddha, refined, and calm is a term used for prasad. So we will have to see that. Now this is the sense of, you can say, causation. Why he is justifying, why he is pinned down to this Vishuddha Sattva, Jnana Prasadena Vishuddha Sattva. It is because of this, Shruti says that when the understanding becomes calm and refined, then while engaging himself in the great vocation of man called meditation, the individual realizes the Supreme Self within himself. So this first statement is highlighting the importance of Jnana Prakashena Vishuddha Sattva. So now we have to see. Now this is the main purpose. Now the meditation, Dhyayamanaha is the fourth line you will see in the stanza. Nishkalam Dhyayamanaha. So Dhyayamanaha is the one who is meditating. So in meditation, he will realize the self. Now this meditation, therefore, if you think that it is the cause and the effect is self-realization, then it is not so. This misunderstanding is already cleared in the earlier paragraph. There is no relationship of meditation and self-realization, first of all. Then what is the purpose of meditation? That helps us realize our own self. The purpose of meditation is to remove all the coverings and the veilings upon our own self. Because of these veilings, I am not able to understand who am I, what is my true nature. And meditation will help me realize, in a sense, that meditation will remove all the obstacles and coverings from myself, so that the self is then revealed to me. Now, this process of meditation is a process of purification of my mind. Now, the mind is at this moment badly impure. What is this impurity due to is now explained in this paragraph. Now, see, what are the impurities? Now, it is covered in the sixth paragraph as this. It is said, during the endless pilgrimage of each individual, endless pilgrimage, aneka janma samprapta, we have gone through several lives before our present one. And what are the kind of lives that we have gone through? Right from stone onwards. The inertia of the stone, see the beautiful adjectives that are given here. It is said that the inert stones, living vegetables, knowing animals, and thinking man. Several lives we have spent before we come to the birth of a man, a thinking being. Long before that, we have spent our life in inertia, that is dead tamas. Tamas it is that makes us blind and we are not able to understand anything. So we have spent so many lives in tamas, so many lives we have spent in the world of the plants, plant kingdom, then so many lives in the world of animal kingdom, and at last we have reached the life of a human being. Now, though here it is qualified as thinking man, it is not assumed that man will always think. That is the problem. So, the four levels, the minerals, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and man. These are the four levels in which the life is getting evolved. And the individual jiva who is caught up in this circle, in this cycle, has went through, lived through very many lives like this. Aneka janma. It is, and thereby aneka janma samprapta karma bandha. It has wittingly or unwittingly created a bond of karma. So it is in his nature now that he has to do something. That is his idea. He has to do something. When he is alive, his only job is to do something. And in the earlier two lines, na karmana, na tapasa, the actions will never lead to the knowledge and self-realization, clearly mentioned. But because he has gone through several lives, now when he has come to the human life, he will only think of doing something or the other. So the sense of doership, because of he has become a self-conscious being, it has come to him the sense of doership. Therefore, he will continue. Earlier, the activities of the plant, birds and animals, etc., they were happening instinctively. Now, he is consciously engaged himself in some action like this. And this is not the story of all the human beings, please note. These four levels are existing in the humanity itself. We have among ourselves a lot of human beings, born human, but they are living like a stone. They are so tamasic that it is not possible for anyone to draw his attention to his own sense of self-improvement. It is not possible at all. Like a fetus in the womb, he has to spend 9 months, 9 days. Likewise, he has to spend a lot of period where he will go through several failures, intense disappointments, and calamities, etc., has to befall on him before he could wake up to the present. Till then, he is asleep like a stone, not showing any sense of responses. Now, there are a section of people among ourselves who are predominantly tamasic. I'm using the word predominantly tamasic. It doesn't mean that they don't have sattva and rajas, but predominantly tamasic. Then there are some who are predominantly rajasic, active. Then there are some who are predominantly sattvic. Now those who are rajasic have hope for the spiritual path. Not all rajasic, but those who are cultured and are active rajasic have a scope. Now Duryodhana was also rajasic, Arjuna was also rajasic, but Arjuna was qualified to receive the knowledge from the Lord and not Duryodhana. That is because Arjuna was basically a cultured person. One who has got cultured person and a rajasic mode of his mind, then for him, there are ways and means by which he can purify his activity, used for his self-purification, and he can proceed on the path of spirituality. So, this is the second level where they are predominantly Rajasic. Likewise, there are different levels. Here, Swamiji has counted 4 mainly the levels. The inert stone, so first the seeker has to win over the tamas by rajas, win over inactivity by activity. This is the first way. Now he is inactive. Then inactive person has to first to be made as active. In order that he should be made active, certain temptation like incentives, etc., can be offered to him. If you do this, you will get this. And the early portions of the Vedas, the ritualistic portion of the Vedas, do promise us that if you perform this activity, you will go to heaven and you will have the heavenly pleasures. And then, having enjoyed that, you will come back again. Then again engage yourself in some good religious activities. Again gather the punya, the merits, and go to the heaven. And this is what they have been repeatedly doing. That is because to encourage them to come out of inactivity. Now they are tamasic, inactive, and so that the inactivity should be won over by activity, they are encouraged to act with a promise of some result or some benefit, because a tamasic man will not otherwise take up to activity. Prayojanam anuddishya, unless you tell him the purpose, prayojanam anuddishya na mandopi pravartate. Even an idiot will not take up to the activity unless he is told why he should conduct the activity, how he will benefit by this activity, what are the results of this activity, etc. So, prayojanam anuddishya na mandopi pravartate. The first step for this is to take him out from the stone-like inactivity by offering him the activity which will promise him something in return with which he can enjoy the benefit. So activity is the way to end the inactivity. Now this activity is desire prompted activity. He is asked to work so that he will get something in return with which he can benefit. So this is sakama karma. When he is nishkriyaha, from him sakama karma will make him active. When he is thus active, then he should be asked that it is the purpose and the desire which prompts you to activity that binds you. Therefore, continue to work, but without desire. Put the desires aside, give it a higher purpose, and continue the work. So, nishkama karma will guide him and take him out from sakama karma. So, likewise, these scriptures will guide us, and we have to go through so many lives like this, evolving ourselves from the inertia to activity, activity that is desire prompted, from desire prompted activity to desireless activity, that is the next one, and then the desireless activity will cause the self purification. The self purification will give him the affinity and the interest or liking for the knowledge. Once he has the affinity or liking for the knowledge, then he will come on the path of knowledge. But it will take aeons, it will take lives together. And Swamiji is describing here the 4 levels of the set of lives that we have to go through. Inert stones, living vegetables, knowing animals, and thinking man. These are the 4 levels. The seeker has gained in his inner composition thick layers of animalisms and instincts. to rub them off and to purify the antakarana is the process of spiritualism. Again, as we have said earlier, is another term for meditation. So what meditation will do, earlier we have only seen that meditation will remove all the negativities about ourselves, about our own self. But what are those negativities? It starts from the dead tamas to sattva. So the tamas is an activity, rajas is activity, sattva is an activity, and thus the person is evolved through lives together and has now become a human. Now human is considered here as a thinking being, a thinking man. Therefore, thinking is most important for the human life. If we refuse to think, then our fate is most dangerous, because thinking is as against the feeling or impulsive, instinctive living. Feeling in a sense of reacting, feeling not in a sense of emotion. As the great poet has said, life is a tragedy for those who feel. It is a comedy for those who think. Now here, feeling is not emotion. Feeling is reaction. Those who react by mind, for them, the life is a tragedy. Or those who think by intellect, for them, the life is a comedy. So thinking and feeling, or responding and reacting, these are the basic differences. When man is called thinking being, because he has got the additional faculty of intellect or discrimination, and its function is thinking, and this thinking leads to the knowledge. Therefore, he is called as a thinking being. Now we have to learn. So again, when we come into the human life, we are among ourselves, or even in our own individual life, the early childhood has been spent in ignorance. We were encouraged to do something. Then we became active. Then we were asked to learn something. And if we have learned something, then we will understand that thinking is essential in the process of learning, which will fulfill in knowledge. So the learning is one thing, gathering the information is one thing, and making it as our own knowledge is something different. So for this process of learning, they have to engage. So this is how within the human life, if he is going on the path of thinking, then definitely he has a scope for this. So here the meditation, he has a great job of undoing all the evils that the man has gathered all through his past lives. So much he has gathered, and that has to be cleared by the practice of meditation. So this is, in fact, it is again, it is an elaboration of the idea that was in the earlier paragraph. Earlier paragraph said that meditation is not the cause for the effect of self-realization. Meditation and self-realization has no relationship. Meditation has something to do with, it is related with our negativities about ourselves, and meditation is a relentless attack on all our negativities about ourselves. This was only introduced in the earlier paragraph. In this paragraph, it is elaborated what exactly the meditation has to do. It has to do against the lethargy in us, the tamas in us. It has to do something with the rajas in us, and then the sattva in us. And the sattva has different levels, of which the last level is Vishuddha Sattva. It is a very systematic thought development, and he has said in the beginning, so the sixth paragraph introduces us to the last two lines of the mantra. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattva tatashrutam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha. This is just the introductory comment, the sixth paragraph, and another 4 paras will follow, 3 paras will follow in elaborate commenting on these 2 lines only. Therefore, see the importance of these 2 lines. And among these 2 lines, the 2 words are most important. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha. And that is described in the 6th para, in the beginning only, first line. In italics, it is printed as when the understanding becomes calm and refined. Now we have just now discussed some time back calm. The word calm we have defined. We have said the calm, serene and tranquil. Right? Now this is all belonging to mind. We already know. Therefore this aspect and refined. Refined is Vishuddha Sattva. This also is the characteristic of the mind. So the mind has to become one as calm and second as refined. These 2 aspects belong to the mind, and the knowledge aspect, jnana, belongs to the intellect. Now, the understanding that is reached at the intellectual level has to be appreciated by the mind, and the mind will be in a position to appreciate that only when it becomes 2 words are used, prasada and vishuddha sattva. When mind becomes cheerful in its disposition, prasadastu prasannata. Prasada means prasannata, the cheerful disposition of the mind. And vishuddha sattvaha, it is extremely pure. Sattva is purity. Vishuddha, it is not ordinarily pure, it is extremely pure. So, prasada and vishuddha sattva, these 2 terms belong to mind, and jnana belongs to intellect. So, if your knowledge is without the mind participating in it with its purity, etc., then that knowledge becomes only as dead stuff in your brain. It has no relevance in your life. But if the knowledge in your intellect, clear, free from doubts and perversion, if this knowledge is backed up, supported by the mind, which is clean, pure, and extremely sattvic, then definitely such a person equipped with this kind of understanding in the intellect and the kind of qualities of the mind which made it pure and calm, then such a person in his meditation will see the self. Nishkalam dhyayamanaha. So tatastu tam pashyate. Tam means atmanam. That is seen. Seen means realized. The self is realized in meditation when the knowledge in the intellect meets the extreme purity of the mind with a cheerful disposition. So, prasadena and vishuddha sattvaha. So, by the prasada, prasannata. Prasadastu prasannata is the sutra which indicates to us when our mind becomes cheerful, That is called as prasad. So after arti, after puja, it is expected by performing puja and arati, our mind must become cheerful, and the actual prasad meant for eating is only representing that. We should not just look forward for that prasad, but we should essentially recognize whether our mind has become cheerful by going through arti and puja, etc. So that is what is the natural effect expected by performing puja, japa, dhyanam, etc. The mind should become prasanna or cheerful. So this is called prasad. When we have done that, then the outer prasad which is given, eatable, usually sweet, is meant for only representing your state of mind, and therefore you will all the more enjoy it. The mind is cheerful, and in the hand is an instant energy, the sweet. Therefore, it will be a double joy for the individual. But provided his mind is essentially has become cheerful by the exercise. So the prasada is the one. Now prasannata, prasadastu prasannata. Now if you remember, we have seen mainly three characteristics of a sattvic mind. I don't know whether you remember. There is no chance to check what you know whether you remember or not. But there are mainly three characteristics that will qualify our mind as sattvic. The first is shanti, the peaceful disposition of mind. Second is jnanam, the mind in its intellectual aspect has the knowledge about the self. And prasannata, the mind has a cheerful disposition. So these are the three characteristics of a sattvic mind. Sattvic mind is the one which is peaceful, which is cheerful, and yes, which is knowledgeable, which has a knowledge. So the intellectual aspect has already gathered the knowledge about the self, free from doubts and perversion, and the sattvic mind has appreciated and recognized the presence of the self within itself. So that mind will definitely contain the realization of the self for the seeker when it is prasanna, prasad, and vishuddha sattva. It is sattvic, purely sattvic. So here we need to know the different levels of the purity of mind. Usually we say, we have used in our earlier discussions, predominantly tamasic, predominantly rajasic, predominantly sattvic. So predominantly, in a sense, that sense is having an accent over the other two gunas. So when you say predominantly sattvic, means sattva has a more accent and a little control over the rajas and tamas. Predominantly rajasic means rajas has a more control over the tamas and the sattva. So predominant. So it only indicates the predominance of the guna over the other two gunas. But when we say that he is sattvic, not predominantly sattvic, he is sattvic, then we need to give some percentage. So this percentage, if we want to give, then when we say sattvic, then it is 85% sattva, 10% rajas, and 5% tamas. When you say sattvic, not predominantly. Predominance is a little control over the other two. But here basic nature is sattvic. 85% sattvic, 10% rajasic, 5% tamasic. When you say he is rajasic, 85% rajas, 10% sattva, 5% tamas. When you say he is tamasic, 85% tamasic, then 10% rajasic, 5% sattvic. So likewise, we can have for our intellectual grasp, the sense of proportion. When we say a man is sattvic, now here it is said, so sattvika, then shuddha sattva and vishuddha sattva. We have to give levels for our own understanding that the mind which is by nature sattvic can be at times overpowered by rajas or tamas due to the inner environment or the outer situation. Outer situation may provoke him to become rajasic or tamasic, or inner environment may be due to vasanas or desires make him do that. So it is possible that even a sattvic person can at times behave like a rajasic or tamasic person. It is due to some influence either of the outer situation or of the inner environment of vasanas, desires, etc. So this is depending upon the conditioning or situations within or without. Later, when we say Vishuddha Sattva, he is all the time, any time, he is ever cheerful, ever peaceful, and he never loses sight of the knowledge that he has gained. The vision that he has gained, he never loses sight of. So this aspect, when it is said, we can call him as a Vishuddha Sattva. So the mind has to reach that level where it contains the essential understanding and follows it by living a life of purity, the prasada, prasannata, cheerful disposition, and also Vishuddha Sattvaha, ever pure. The purity and the cheerfulness, it maintains and does not lose sight of the knowledge that is gained by the intellect. So this aspect, when set properly, then our mind intellect equipment is set to the position, required disposition, and then the person, the seeker, when in his attempt at a deeper contemplation, meditation, then he does see the self within himself. The self is revealed as his own self within. Now, this aspect is really very important here, and the conditions of the mind and intellect are quite clear. Jnana prasadena vishuddha sattvaha. The prasada prasannata will come to us the moment we gain the knowledge. So the gain of knowledge is very important. That will give the mind a sense of cheer, but that will not last for long unless the mind also by its nature or disposition sattvic. So then it can contain or sustain that sense of knowledge. Vishuddha sattvaha is a state of mind where the knowledge is not lost sight of, and the cheerful disposition and the purity of mind is ever maintained. So this Vishuddha Sattvaha, Jnana Prasadena Vishuddha Sattvaha is the most important wording in this mantra, and Swamiji has dwelt upon it in all the details, and this para is only the initiative or the starting comment, and it will go on till the end of this commentary, and we will then come to know the role of a sattvic mind and the role of knowledge gained, intellectual knowledge gained, how they, when they work together, how they will help the spiritual seeker at the seat of meditation, that it will enable him to see the self, to realize the self as his own self. This is the last wording question. Please. Yoshi has raised the hand as usual.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. Sir, in the fourth paragraph,
fourth paragraph.
Meditation and self-realization is not of the kind of cause and effect. But in
Yes.
the fifth paragraph, the importance of meditation is clearly said. Then what is the status of the meditation? If it is not a cause and effect, but without meditation we cannot go to that state.
So that is what our major part of the discussion was. That the purpose of meditation is to decondition, I'm using now different words, is to decondition our wrong understanding about ourselves. Whatever we have got the concepts, I am the body, I am so and so, etc. These are all wrong concepts and they serve as veilings or coverings for our real self. Therefore, I am not able to recognize or realize my own self. Now, meditation will work on these negativities by offering the positive thoughts about the self. Positive thoughts means, I am of the nature of Satchit Ananda, I am Anandagana. Various positive ideas about ourselves will be suggested, and this will be then the main function of meditation. So the main function of the meditation is to remove. It is a relentless attack on all the negativities and wrong concepts, misunderstanding about ourselves. So it does not directly contribute to self-realization, but if at all, it contributes to the removing the obstacles or the obstructions of misunderstanding about ourselves. Is it clear? Now, for instance, Pratasmarami Hrudi Samspurat Atma Tattvam. Now, Atma Tattvam is on its own. It is throbbing in my heart as I. It is I am. Now, this is called as self. Now, this particularly, when this is called as the self, then self stands for I, right? So, when self stands for I, what is the meaning of I as I understand at present? And what is the real meaning of I as suggested by Pratasmaranam? The Pratasmaranam suggests that this self I, Hrudi Samspuradatma Tattvam, is of the nature of Satchit and Ananda. So this is the real nature of I. Now, at present, the nature of I that I have with me is that I am a limited being, limited by the mortality, limited by the sorrows, limited by the ignorance, limited by so many things. I feel limited, tied and bound, and this is a wrong concept about myself. Meditation on Pratasmarana Stotra will definitely negate all these wrong ideas. They counteract all these ideas. And Pratasmaranam Stotram is the best for meditation in a sense that in 3 stanzas, Acharya has represented entire Vedanta without compromising anything, without missing anything. He has covered the entire Vedanta in 3 verses. And therefore, it is the best available summary of Vedanta, which talks about myself. in short, in 3 verses. Therefore, I just took up that, and meditation on this will counteract my misconceptions about myself. So, like the seed of Nirmali, they counteracted the impurities. They didn't create the purity. The water is essentially pure. The water as falling from the sky is distilled water. But moment it falls down on the earth, it becomes impure. Then we call by different adjectives like heavy water, light water, dirty water, muddy water. These are not the adjectives of water. They are the adjectives of belonging to the earth. But they go to the water unnecessary because of the mix-up. So if water, assuming it's self-conscious, if it understands that I am ever pure, I am fallen as a pure water, therefore essential purity, if it believes, then there are ways of purification. The present impurities can always be removed. I have not seen this. Anyone else has raised the hand?
No,
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 Guruji.
No. Okay. Any announcements?
no announcement.
No announcement. Very good. So we'll conclude. Yasya prasadadahameva Vishnuः मय्येव सर्वं परिकल्पितञ्च इत्थं विजानामि सदात्मरूपं तस्याङ्घ्रिपद्मं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्